I'm the coordinator of FilmEU RIT, which is the research part or component of the FilmEU Alliance. RIT has as one of its main objectives to capacitate the higher education institutions that are members of FilmEU in terms of research. So basically one of the activities we are conducting in that regard is seed funding of pilot projects that involve collaborations between researchers coming from the 4 different institutions around a common topic or a common objective. The pilots that we are presenting today in this summit are the result of the first call for seed funding that we did more or less 2 years ago, right in the very close to the beginning of the project, and we funded 5 pilot projects. The 5 pilot projects are all very different one from the others. The only thing that they have in common is that there is a strong focus on artistic research, because that's also in general the approach that we want to take in terms of defining our research agenda. So we regard these pilots as a showcase of not only the potential of the FilmEU Alliance to develop innovative and original research work, but also as a mean to build up a community of researchers. So I think that the pilots can be sort of as a first stage in a process towards the build-up both of a community but also of structures that will allow us to conduct research on a higher level. I think that already we are seeing some results of that. Part of the teams that are involved in some of these pilots have already applied for other funding opportunities, namely under Marie Curie and under Horizon. We have already acquired some extra funding under those different programs. And I think that these pilots are also a great opportunity not only for people to come together and develop original research work, but I think that they're also a great opportunity for us as institutions to get to know one another better. So, for instance, today during the presentations in the morning, I guess that it became clear that as the pilots evolve, more people jumped on board, because it became clearer and clearer that the activities that were being conducted related to the work of either PhD students or young researchers or older researchers across the different institutions. I think that the example, for instance, of the Congo VR with the top on of the IDT with the story of casement is a very good example of how research work should be conducted. Research is always a discovery. Popper used to say that in research you start with very small problems, you solve that small problem, and then you move to the next small problem. You should never try to solve all the problems all the time. And I think that these pilots are also a very, very interesting example of how you can, via innovative methodologies, just like artistic research, solve and address small problems, but while doing that, also build up a community, because that's what we are targeting.
Yes. You mentioned artistic research. What does artistic research mean for you?
Artistic research should and can be regarded as as research conducted with an artistic practice in mind. I think that artistic research is still a contested term. If you look around, you will see that there are a number of conferences, a number of special issues in journals, all dealing with what artistic research is all about. Artistic research is different from research about the arts. It's different from research on the arts. It's research through the arts. I think that these pilots are all good examples of how that can be done. Some of these pilots are quite close to digital humanities, some others are closer to the social sciences, but they all, in some manner, use artistic practice to address a problem. And that's what you do in artistic research. I would say that the most basic definition of artistic research is this. It's the use of an artistic practice to address a problem, just like you would do in any scientific process. So it's, in that regard, it's not different from research in the art sciences. I think that the main difference of artistic research is that the outputs that you produce can have a relevance that go way beyond the concrete scientific context where they originally were produced. I think that some of these pilots also are also exemplary of that. For instance, the way the Congo VR questions very important issues in our society, like the topic of how do we deal with our colonial past, how do we address the problem of decolonizing our own cultural heritage. And that's more of a social problem, but they address that via artistic research. In the example of the expanded memories, the way the topic of remediation is addressed. Remediation is a very strong theory in the field of media studies, but it can be addressed via an artistic practice, and that's what we see in expanded memories. And for instance, in the animation archive, we are looking at a database, and in its essence, it's a database, but it poses a lot of questions on how we can problematize and contextualize film production and, in this particular case, animation production across different contexts. So I think that all of them and the others that we are going to see today, some of them deal with AI, others resort to neurosciences. So artistic research is also an incredible field for interdisciplinary exploration. And I think that what we are also doing is trying to use these pilots to test ways of further developing interdisciplinary research in our own institutions. In the coming years, we expect FilmEU to more and more increase not only its research capacity, but also to promote more and more research activities that have an interdisciplinary focus. That's one of our main objectives for the near future.
And in the case of these pilots, it's also done in a context of international collaboration. So how would you say that that is important for the pilots as well?
That's essential. So when the call for these pilots was launched, we have now launched a second call. So we are already in the second wave of pilots. All of these 5 are from the first wave. The call is very open, but it has a number of completely fixed rules. And one of those rules is that the team that developed the pilot has to include researchers coming from at least 3 institutions in the Alliance. And why is that so important for us? Because independently of the results of the actual research work, one of the main objectives of these pilots, as I have already said, is to build up a community, is to bring these researchers together, to invite them to talk one with the others, to discover domains where they share or where they have a common interest, but also to work together towards the identification of new problems that they can address and where they can work together. So for us, this international dimension, or if you inter-institutional dimension of these pilots is absolutely crucial. It was one of the few rules that in the beginning we set as something that we would not change in the call for these pilots.
And you spoke a little bit already about this topic that was about FilmEU and the context in FilmEU. So if you could elaborate a little bit more about how FilmEU facilitated all of this, I think it would be good.
Well, FilmEU was essential for the development of these pilots. First of all, the pilots are an outcome of FilmEU in the sense that they were funded via FilmEU on one side. On the other side, the pilots are developed by researchers that are coming from the institutions that participate in the European University FilmEU, but also the pilots are a direct contribution to the implementation of the FilmEU research agenda. So I would say that these pilots are instrumental for the build-up of this future European University that we are working on, but at the same time, the European University, the pilots would not exist without this project of the build-up of an European University. So there is this symbiosis whereby the pilots illustrate what this European University can be all about in the future, but at the same time, the European University also needs these pilots to test and develop its research agenda.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you very much for being here today.